50 States of Terror may include content unsuitable for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Content warnings will be included in the show notes. This is Pennsylvania, knockers, and the broad-top snake. Hello, world. Your favorite podcast host about cryptids, paranormal, conspiracies, and everything else. Anthony Diaz here with another episode of 50 States of Terror. Let me go ahead and move my notes here. There we go. That's better. For those who listened to last week's episode and update, you know that I didn't have a new episode that week. But I'm making good on my promise to bring you the next state, and that is Pennsylvania. But before I get into that, I wanted to thank those who reach out to me. I appreciate your kind words about my job situation and all the things that came from that. I want to let you know that I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. One of these days I'll reach my goal, but for now, all I can do is pick up where I left off and improve. I'm not going to lie, it was heartbreaking, but I'm learning that it is okay. I'll just keep on moving forward. So what else has been going on? Well, one of our favorite months is fast approaching, October, and we are gearing up for some exciting and some hard work. My wife will be lining up some art shows to showcase and sell her handmade items. I will be getting ready for NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month in November. I do plan on doing something special for both shows, 50 States of Terror and Narrative Quest, for October. It's going to be pretty awesome. A pretty awesome creative month. Make sure you follow my social media, all the pages and whatnot for updates. I took an extended break from getting my novel published, and that is okay. But I'm anxious to get back right at it and get things out, you know? Well, let's get started by doing a little deep dive into the great state of Pennsylvania. Admitted to the Union on December 12, 1787, and with its capital of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is one of the OGs of American history. So here we go. Pennsylvania is a state with incredible history, and I learned something from doing this research. Did you know that Pennsylvania from 1862 was a prominent oil producer? When I think of Pennsylvania, I don't think oil. I think coal mines and manufacturing, not oil. And my brain immediately goes to like Alaska, Texas, and Midwest for oil producing states. But Pennsylvania was one of the heavy hitters, and that's awesome. Now, much like before on other states, we start with the first population peoples of Algonquian and Iroquois origin, along with Odaigwe, Delaware, Erie, and Lenape, to name a few. In 1643, there was a place called New Sweden. It's a colony which was formed around the area of now, which is like the eastern coast of Pennsylvania. And this resided between two English colonies, Jamestown and Maryland. Now, mind you, that New France was just chilling north of all of this. And New France kind of like took over the majority of Canada at this time. So you had the first of many European origin battles for land pushing the indigenous out. In 1674, the English ruled the area known as New England, and King Charles II gave some wig-wearing Quaker dude named William Penn land for payment for a debt. This land became Pennsylvania, meaning Penn's Forest, which Penn didn't even name. The king did. King Charles II actually named this for this guy. So I guess Penn just, went with it anyway. The Quakers were an interesting political group that, if you want to shake things up, that needs to make a comeback. everything that's going on in Washington, let's shake it up with some Quakers. You know what I'm saying? It would be a hard sell, though. But anyway, so William Penn sets up land agreements and has to return to England to handle some things. While he's away, things get kind of bad. Now, during this time, Penn was one who never wished to push indigenous peoples out of, quote unquote, his land. He would treat the tribes as equal humans. But unfortunately, his policies fell quickly as he was away, like I said earlier, and eventually died. Penn's religious tolerance allowed for Pennsylvania to become a safe haven for religious groups to practice their respected faiths with no malice. Now picture this in your mind. In 1737, something called the Walking Purchase occurred, which outlined borders of lands. Now tensions rose amongst Quakers, non-Quakers, indigenous tribes, and then more and more battles started to take place. Along with this came the French, who now controlled much of the land to the west of the original colonies. The French and Indian War now kicks off. Then after that, the American Revolution happens. Now we have American land, Spanish colonies to the west, and British colonies to the north, which would be Canada. Philadelphia now plays a massive role in the future of American history from 1774 on. American lands now grow west. Pennsylvania becomes the first state to abolish slavery and now is a hot spot leading into the American Civil War. By World War II, Pennsylvania produced 6% of the iron used for the war. But one product in particular was pivotal during the war and post-war economic climb: the Hershey chocolate bar. It is amazing to see just how a chocolate bar helped in post-war American manufacturing. Further, after World War II, Pennsylvania became, in my opinion, the model blue-collar state, as Philadelphia formed the first union in 1794. Oh, and there's a statue of Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia too, in case you didn't know. So, let's get into the cryptids. Let's get into knockers, otherwise known in some parts as Tommy knockers. I have been waiting for a while to explore this cryptid because it is scary as all hell. I've been waiting to do Pennsylvania. Like some other states, I might come back to this one and do a part 2. But right now, I want for you to imagine yourself in the dark tunnels of a Pennsylvania mine. You're the last one to leave for the night, and your light is dimming. It fades into deep tunnels. Then you hear it. A small knocking far into the darkness. You pay no mind at first, but you are compelled to investigate. One step after another, you continue to hear the small knocking. Then suddenly, directly above you, the loud, repeating knocks. What you may have experienced deep down beneath the earth are known as knockers, or knackers. Coming from the Cornish folklore, these are humanoid These are humanoid creatures of grotesque features, perhaps resembling goblins or gnomes in size and shape. These creatures are something of an enigma. Stories and lore of these knockers can be helpful or harmful, playful or mischievous. Tales of knocks coming from miners deep into the tunnels were meant to lead these miners down unmanned and dangerous tunnels. Now, others say that these knocks were meant to warn a miner of trouble, perhaps a warning from a cave-in, or something worse than a cave-in, like a large rock coming falling on a miner. These knocks were meant possibly to warn them. Yet more other miners' tales say that these creatures play tricks on the helpless miners in the form of stealing equipment or moving items. What makes these creatures interesting is the relationship they have with Fae lore. Offerings, like the pieces of miners' lunch or snacks, were thrown down tunnels to appease the knockers. Others would sometimes make effigies in order to please the knockers as well. In some cases, miners were told not to whistle while they worked in the mines, as they would aggravate the knockers. So what are these creatures? It is believed that these things are the spirits or physical spirits of deceased miners or ancestors of old world deceased miners. Some believe that the evil or cursed spirits may have followed or attached themselves to these miners. What is fascinating is that many other countries have similar beings. Like Germany, they have kobolds. Much like these knockers, they too would knock on the caves to torment miners. Or the Ukraine Shuban. What is even more fascinating is the resemblance of these underground creatures all over the world. Almost all mentioned from different countries have these creatures as disgusting as foul, gnomish, or goblin resemblance, all stating that they either help or hinder. The UK, Peru, Germany, Americas, Australia, it is a creature that you do not want to get on their bad side. So what could these creatures be? Now, my fantastical, over-imaginative brain loves the idea of underground creatures roaming the natural man-made caves, protecting their lands against the men who steal their ore and stone. I could see a goblin-esque creature tormenting miners and warning them to stay away. Perhaps one grew a conscience and decided to aid the miners and warn them of impending doom. It is because these dark tunnels under the earth makes the mind wander. I could see myself thinking that little beings were making noise, but in reality, it was the earth shifting or rocks echoing down the tunnels. Like I said before, scary as hell. Now, this episode, I'm going to do 2 of them. Pennsylvania has a lot of different cryptids, and I'm really tempted to do a part 2 on Pennsylvania. Like I was going to do part 2 in other states. There's so many of these things. And this one also freaks me the hell out. The Broad Top Snake. Located in Broad Top Borough of Huntington County, and I'm hoping I say that correctly, deep in the woods lives a snake of massive size. The round top snake, or otherwise known as the devil snake, with the first sighting occurring around 1830. It is described as a massive black snake with depictions ranging from 15 feet to 40 feet in length and the girth of a large tree. The black snake description is something to note, as Pennsylvania is home to native black snakes such as the rat snake, but obviously not to the size in which it was being described. Recent sightings from 1980 and 1990 depict a massive snake that moves with ease and is fast. Of course, this cryptid could originate from a phobia of snakes. I believe it is called ophidiophobia. Oh, no, it is called ophidiophobia. That's what it's called, ophidiophobia, which is the fear of snakes. And in the sight of something like a snake could trick the mind, and it could enlarge a creature to frightening sizes. Perhaps a misidentified boa or python which escaped from a home or managed to travel from a zoo. I don't know. What does pique my interest and my cryptid brain is the fact that we did at one point have a giant snake known as the Titanoboa. Existing in the Paleocene era, these massive ancestors of boas are complete nightmare fuel. Could it be a relative of Titanoboa lurking in the broad top woods? I don't know. But it's a whole lot of nope. A whole lot of nope for me, man. Now, like episodes in the past, it is time to rate these cryptids. Out of a total of 5 golden Nessies, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best, it is time to rate. These 2 cryptids are amazing. Both inject a primal fear within you. One lurks in the dark tunnels and caves of mines. The other slithers in the woods and disappears in a flash. I like them both. And I personally do not like snakes. I'll leave them be as long as they leave me be. But I give these 4 out of 5 golden Nessies. Incredible cryptids. Pennsylvania is an incredible state. I've never been to Pennsylvania yet, but I do plan on going because I am anxious to get a real life Philly from Philly. A Philly cheesesteak from Philly, that's what I want. I've heard too many stories about walking somewhere in the city and getting a delicious Philly cheesesteak that blows any Philly cheesesteak you get at a restaurant out of the water. Because I mean, it's something that I want to try, and I want to see an Eagle game, and I want to see a Philly game. There's a hockey. I forgot what the hockey team is in Philadelphia, but I'm all about it, man. Pennsylvania, I am anxious to get up to that state. And, and while I'm at it, I'll go see the Hershey. I think there's a Hershey museum or something. Who wouldn't want to go see a museum or go visit a museum just that's dedicated to chocolate? I'm all about that. All about that. And the beers, I'm seriously anxious to go get a nice Philadelphia brewed beer. Hell yeah. So, thank you all for listening. And remember, you can listen to my stories on my other podcast, Narrative Quest. Again, thank you for all the support and listens. Feel free to share, send me an email, or say hello on the socials. It keeps me motivated to do this thing I love, which is tell stories and talk to you. Remember that every day you can start something new towards your goal. Don't quit. I believe in you. All right. Later, y'all. This has been an episode of 50 States of Terror, brought to you by your host, Anthony Diaz. You can find the show on Facebook and Instagram at 50 States of Terror. On Twitter, you can find the show at 50 States Terror without the of, because of the character limitations. You can also find the show on TikTok, 50 SOT Podcast. Email at the50sot@gmail.com. That's the 50SOT@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to support the show, please, you may at patreon.com/50 States of Terror. Thank you, and happy hunting. Later. Then you hear it. A small knocking far into the distance. Offering like the pieces of it is described as a massive black snake with